Well, we've come to Writers Aren't Always Right episode 2, and this time it's Masterclass. This time it sounds like some credible, possibly very good website. I mean, it's Masterclass. Right, but before we get serious, I'd like to introduce you to a story I wrote called The Bunny and the Duck, and I was 5. And it was a disturbing story about a bunny getting eaten by an alligator for a school project. I was 5. Hoping this is going to be less than 6 minutes, here we go. Once upon a time, there was a bunny and a duck. The bunny said, "Hi, duck, can I be your friend?" The duck said, "Yes, let's be friends." You can tell a kid wrote this. So they went to the pond to play. Dee-dee-dee-dee-dee. Yay, it's so fun. Then a dog comes around and says, "Can I be your friend too?" "Yes, come be our friend." Rawr. Alligator comes out. "Oh no, it's an alligator. Oh no." "Rawr, I'm gonna eat you." "No, help me," said the bunny. The dog and the duck said, "We'll help pull you out." And so they all get into a line. The duck grabs the bunny's tail. The dog grabs the duck's tail. So they pulled and pulled and pulled and pulled. But the alligator pulled back. Oh no, the tail snapped off and the alligator ate the bunny. And they were very sad. Their little bunny friend died. And they cried and cried and cried and cried. You can see the duck still has a little bit of the bunny's tail in his beak. And in the actual booklet, I pasted a cotton ball onto the page so that people can touch it as if it's a real bunny's tail. The end. I was 5 when I wrote that. It's a sad story. Why did I think of writing a sad story? And I remember my mom was helping me write this story. She was the one that came up with the idea of putting the cotton ball on the page. I don't know what teacher thought. I don't even remember what the teacher said about this story. Why did I write this disturbing story? It's so sad. The bunny died. I was 5. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. That was just a little fun little thing. It was probably even less than 6 minutes. What do you say? Probably like a few minutes, 2 minutes, 3 minutes maybe. Anyway, let's move on. That was a fun little thing, wasn't it? So, if you've watched my first video on different writing advice, my second video on different writing advice, both each about an hour and a half, you might remember that I forget to say things, so I usually write notes when I make the slides. The notes are going to be on the slides, most likely. I'm going to be reacting and giving my opinion. The purpose of this is to figure out if this advice is actually helpful for writers. Does it give what the article title says? The last video didn't do that. The last video on writing advice, not the last one, the one before that, the first one. Or was it the second one? Anyway, the good thing about having these long videos and I'm not showing my face, is that you can have me on in the background while you do things, because I read everything and tell you everything. So we don't even have to watch the screen if you don't want to. Although, in the beginning of this video, I did tell a little story with some little animated objects on the screen. So if you missed that, you might want to go back and check that out and watch it. Well, we are getting into masterclass. Whenever you look up things, how to do things, and you get masterclass, it's like, ooh, I get this feeling like, oh, these people are experts. They know what they're talking about. So, the top 3 results of my search on Google for writing advice novels. The second one was masterclass. The first one was Curtis Brown Creative. And the third one, which I did recently, is Writer's Digest. So we're doing number 2, masterclass. If it's the second one, it should be better than the third one, right? So I look up writing advice novels. And we're doing masterclass. So the last video would be on Curtis Brown Creative. We'll see how that one is too. So, first thing when you look up writing advice novels, the title of the article is 16 Writing Tips for Fiction Writers. So, we're looking at 16 writing tips for fiction writers. And that means this fiction writers is for any type of fiction, romance, fantasy, mystery, thriller, what other genres are there? Horror, whatever. Fiction writers. So, first one we have, Love Your Story. It reads, you might have a list of story ideas waiting to be fleshed out, but there's likely one you're most passionate about. Start with that story. Many authors do their best writing when they're deeply invested in their characters and plot. As the first one, yeah. First writing advice, writing tips for fiction writers isn't actually a writing tip, because we haven't gotten into the actual writing yet. But hey, it's good to love your story. You don't want to write a story about things that you don't like. There's going to be a pause because I need to turn on my light in my room. Okay, hold on. I turned on my light in my room so you can be assured that I'm not doing this in the dark. Love your story. You might have a list of story ideas waiting to be fleshed out. You might. You might not, but you might. And there's like one, yes. Start with that story. Yes, it's good to start with the one that you're most passionate about. Many authors do their best writing when they're deeply invested in their characters and plot. Right. So I think if this goes to say for anything, not just stories ideas, if you have some idea for something and there is one particular idea that you're most passionate about, you're going to want to do that one and you'll be that much more invested in it. I'd say that's pretty good advice. I don't really know what else to think of it. Second tip. This is the second tip. Withhold information from your readers. Let's read that. When writing fiction, only give readers the information they need to know in the moment. Ernest Hemingway's iceberg theory in writing is to show your readers just the tip of the iceberg. The supporting details like backstory should remain unseen, just like the mass of an iceberg under the water's surface. This prevents readers from getting overwhelmed with information and lets them use their imagination to fill in the blanks. I say this is pretty surface level stuff, meaning that, yeah, but if you withhold too much information, that's another thing. It gets confusing as well. So it's sort of like this delicate balance between info dump and vagueness. I've read some stories where it's just like, they don't even mention the main character's name in the beginning. That's a little bit too vague and mysterious. Like, you can do the mysterious beginning, oh, I don't know if this is real or not, kind of beginning. And, withhold information, but there's like some information that's like pointless to withhold. Like, why would you withhold? Why would you tell that to me later? Like, as if it's a twist to the story. So I recently read this. This is I guess it's supposed to be a middle grade book. I kind of not sure if it's a middle grade book, but called Pog, P-O-G, Pog, and I can't pronounce the author's name. And there was this weird thing where you could tell where actually there's this family, okay? There's this little girl and there's this little boy and there's this father, and they move into this house where this creature called Pog lives, and there's like some weirdness going on with the family, and it's like they're waiting for the mother to arrive, and the mother comes, and like, but it's actually not the mother because she's passed away. It's just her ashes. And then like the build up to that was kind of weird because they were obviously withholding some information in kind of a weird, awkward way. That, and it's like, it's a surprise, it's a big reveal, the twist, the mother is actually dead. But there was no reason to do that. Say it up front. I mean, you don't have to withhold information like that. I don't know why he chose to do that. I mean, saying it up front is fine. I mean, why would it be a shocking thing to say later? I don't know. I don't think that's a lot of information. But maybe something that you might withhold is like, I don't know, character's hobby. And if the character's hobby isn't important to the story, then you might withhold it, and maybe it comes out later. Maybe it never does. You know. So, withhold information from your readers, yeah, to an extent, but you don't want to withhold too much. I don't know, maybe there could be a little bit more added to this paragraph. Yeah, you want to overwhelm readers, but you don't want to underwhelm them either, or confuse them. Lets them use their imagination to fill in the blank. Sometimes there's too much blank, and you can't fill it in at all, even. It's like, it's just confusing, that's all it is. So, I don't know. It's okay advice. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's just okay. All right. Number 3. Write simple sentences. I have things to say about that. Let us read. Think of Shakespeare's line, "To be or not to be," famous for its brevity and the way it quickly describes a character's toiling over their own life. There is a time and place for bigger words and denser text, but you can get story points across in simple sentences and language. Try using succinct language when writing, so that every word and sentence has a clear purpose. Okay, so to be honest, this goes against what you have to do for show, don't tell. Because showing naturally makes sentences longer. I tested this out with my own writing, okay? Basically, in show, don't tell, when you show something, you're saying it in more words, and that's fine. And when you're telling, you can be shorter. But just writing short sentences, it's just going to make your story look kind of weird. So I mean, not weird, but you know, like stories for little kids. There was this book I loved called I think it was called Cat Wants a Snack or something. It was just Cat wants a snack. Cat sees a bug. You know, it's short, it's quick. Kids don't have a lot of attention span. It's simple. You could call it short, simple, succinct language. I'm doing arm gestures into the air when I I say succinct language, but you're not going to say that, are you? I don't know why I'm doing that. So writing sentences is not a tip that you would take to your heart and absolutely do every single time. You probably pepper it in between showing with a lot of description and narration, and it does say here there is a time and place for bigger words and denser text. And then it goes on to say, but you can get story points across with simple. So it sounds like there was a time and place for bigger words and denser text. It's better if you get story points across in simple sentences and language. That's what it sounds like that they're saying, which is, it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. And maybe it works for some styles of story writing, but I mean, when you give advice like this to people, they're going to take it to heart. And especially it's masterclass, and it has a reputation of being trustworthy to an extent. You know, it has the name brand and all that stuff. And I don't know. There is a time and place for bigger words and denser text, but I think it should be and. There is a time and place for bigger words and denser text. And you can also get story points across in simple sentences and language. Either way is fine. There's nothing wrong with bigger words and denser text. I read the Perdido Street Station by China Mieville, and if you want dense text, that's where you're going to go to find it. But it's not like he did it all the time either. He did a lot of showing scenes and that sort of thing, and that just gets long, and it's fine. Show don't tell doesn't mean to try to figure out really, really, really teeny tiny short sentences to somehow write like Shakespeare or something like that. Also, to say to write simple sentences, it sounds like it's advice that is not for novices or first drafts, because in the beginning, you can't always be succinct, and that's okay. There was a time when, people would tell me, you have to write shorter sentences, and then I would try to do that in the first draft stage or when I was still learning. And it was just giving me writer's block, and I was having such a hard time figuring out how to be clever like these other famous clever writers, but that just doesn't work. Because you have to remember that the books that you read have been edited over and over and over and over and over. You're not going to write like that in the beginning unless you're a genius. Even geniuses probably get editing, to be honest. All right, let's move on. Number 4, mix up your writing. This sounds kind of similar to the last one. Let's read. To become a better writer, try different types of writing. If you're a novelist, take a stab at a short story. If you're writing fiction, try writing nonfiction. Try a more casual writing style by blogging. Each piece of writing has a different point of view and different style rules that will help your overall writing skills. Okay, so this is kind of like, this is for like novices. Maybe not for novices, but like you might tell someone who's just started writing to maybe try all different kinds of styles of writing if they'd like to try that. I think it's okay to not try it. I mean, I just like writing. I started out writing poetry at first a little bit, and then after that, short stories, kind of. I mean, I never finished anything at that time when I first started. Try writing nonfiction. I mean, I had to write essays for school. Is that nonfiction? I did try blogging, and this wasn't because I wanted to try different styles of writing. I just had other things to say. That wasn't going to be about some fantastical world somewhere. I just wanted to talk about things happening in my life and that sort of stuff. So I did do blogging. And I don't know if that actually helped my overall writing skills. I mean, to be honest, writing fantasy, because I write fantasy stories, writing that over and over and over, and reading other people's writing and doing all that, that's sort of what helped my writing skills. Practice, practice, practice. Right. So yeah, I guess you could mix up your writing if you wanted to. You don't have to, I don't think. Number 5, write every day. Oh gosh, here we go. The last one also talked about writing every day. The last writing advice one that I looked at, Writer's Digest, they also talked about writing every day. You don't have to, really. Some people can, and it's fine if you can't. It is fine if you can't. It is fine that you have a day when you can't do anything. The more it says at the very end of this paragraph, the more you write, the easier it gets. No, it doesn't. I've been writing for like 15 years. It doesn't get easier. You just do. It's a struggle. You just do. And you just do it. And if you really, really like it, you just do it, you know? You don't have to have a daily word count. It says in the paragraph, Stephen King writes 2,000 words a day. That's like a National Novel Writing Month level stuff right there. No wonder he publishes so much. You might also join a writing group. It's great if you can. But maybe sometimes you can't. Maybe you don't have access to that sort of thing. And it also says, don't worry if what you jot down is technically bad writing or you struggle to get something onto a blank page. Yeah, don't worry, but also don't worry if you can't write anything. Write every day isn't a rule. I know they say in the beginning of this paragraph, it says, great writers have a regular writing habit. Not all great writers have a regular writing habit, by the way. I'm pretty sure. Who are these great writers? Who are you talking about? Stephen King? Brandon Sanderson? Maybe? You don't have to have a regular writing schedule like these people. These people, some people can do it. Some people can do it. Some people can't. And that's fine. I don't write every single day. I do try to do something creative. I just like being creative. But I don't write every single day. Sometimes you don't. And that's fine. I'm going to say it over and over. It's fine if you don't write every day. You don't have to follow these great writers. Because some people, I'm not saying they, but some people can do it every day. You don't have to if you don't want to. If you can't, it's not the end of the world. Just if you don't write every day, it's not like you're not a writer. You are a writer. All right, let's move on. Number 6, set milestones. Let's read. The average word count for a book is 75,000 words. It is? Maybe. I guess so. That can make novel writing intimidating. If you're working on your first novel, stay motivated by setting milestones. This will help you break the book down mentally so it is easier to manage and easier to stick with. You could try National Novel Writing Month. If you want something like a milestone, you want some way to keep yourself accountable, they could have talked about National Novel Writing Month. National Novel Writing Month. It's month. National Novel Writing Month. Or NaNoWriMo is the acronym. Acronym? It's not really an acronym. Masterclass should have talked about that. Masterclass should talk about National Novel Writing Month at this point, at number 6. Some years back, NaNoWriMo called the NaNoWriMo is a monthly writing, is a month of November, happens in the month of November worldwide, and what you do is you write 50,000 words. And at one point, they have these yearly themes. And one point, the writer was the knight, and the 50,000 word novel was the dragon. And I thought, that's a good way to put it, because then you're conquering the dragon by writing it. So ever since then, I've started calling the 50K, the 50K word dragon. So I have a little dragon on the screen. And yeah, that's the 50K word dragon. So you could try doing the 50K word dragon. Basically, I've got it down to like a science here. If you write, this is during the month of November, and so if you write almost every day 500 to 2,500 words, then you'd be able to finish the 50K word dragon. You'd be able to conquer it before the end of the month. If you do around, I think it's like 1,200 to 1,500 words every day, then you can conquer the dragon by the end of the month. And this is not for everyone, obviously. This can also be quite intimidating for some people. It was intimidating to me when I first did it back in, I think 2013 or 2014 was the first time I did it. And it was hard to keep myself motivated to do it every single day, to actually write every single day. But I did do that. And I surprised myself that I was able to even finish before, about like a few days before November 30th. Which, it was surprising to me because I didn't think I could do it. But I was going to try my best to see if I could actually do this novel writing thing. So yeah, it was easy to manage in that when you go to National Novel Writing Month and you sign up, you can update your word count daily. So that kind of motivated me to write every day. So you see you're adding on words and it's like, ooh, I added on words. Ooh, and they give you little badges and milestone badges and stuff like that. So that's kind of fun. Yeah, so, yeah, they should have mentioned National Novel Writing Month in this section. This is all I had. This is all they had. This screenshot is all they had. They didn't have anything else under this paragraph. I'm not cutting anything off, by the way. But you don't have to set milestones, I think. It's good to work with milestones. Like, okay, I like to have milestones in different ways. Like, maybe one milestone I have is just finish this chapter. Get to what I think is the end of this chapter, and that's one of the milestones. And then sometimes I have other milestones, like if I'm aiming for word count, then I'd say, okay, I'm going to get to the next 0. So if it ends in 0, like 50 or 500 or 2,500, like I get to that 0, because I like seeing things with 0. It looks like a clean number. And I make that my milestone. Or I have a certain scene that I want to get to, so my milestone then is to get to that certain scene, which is more exciting than the scenes that I've been writing, or something like that. So milestones doesn't always have to be words. It can be scenes, it can be chapters, anything, really. They should have really expanded on this paragraph. It makes it sound like it's all about the word count, which it's not. It's quality over quantity, and I know they say the average word count for a book is that much words. If you're aiming for quality, I'm pretty sure you will get to that many words. All right. Next. Oh yes, here I do this. I mentioned this, don't I? I forgot I had this. I put this slide in. NaNoWriMo. There's my 2016 winner banner. But I did it in 2013 was the first time I did it. They do this thing called Camp Nano, and this is where you choose your word count. And I chose a 40K, and it happens in April and July. And you can go there and register, and then I set mine for 40K for the first time, and then after that I was just doing 50K, because then I got used to writing those levels. So anyway, yeah, you can do NaNoWriMo and maybe someday turn that story into a full-length novel. The story I wrote in 2016 is actually the one I'm trying to self-publish perhaps this year. I hope. I don't know what's going to happen. I really don't know. But you can find me on Instagram at FoxwoodAuthor if you want to see my self-publishing journey. Just a little bit of self-promo in here, please. Okay, moving on. Here is a guy doing a shrug, looking very perplexed. Okay, number 7. Understand basic story structure. Professional writers are well versed in the framework most stories follow, from exposition and rising action through to the climax and falling action. Create an outline to map your main plot and subplots on paper before you get started. So, I don't get into that yet, alright? So I thought I had a different slide for something to explain this more, but I guess I don't. This is plotting. I am not I don't do this. I don't create an outline. I just there's just a story I want to tell and I just tell it. I'm what's called a pantser, and I'm going to get into what pantser, plotter, and planter, the differences between those are. And I'm counting on my fingers, 1, 2, 3, and I don't know why I'm doing that, because you can't see me. All right. So this tip, understand basic story structure. I think it's good to understand basic story structure, but I do that by reading or watching movies, because they all follow the same kind of storyline way. You don't have to go follow a framework. I think it's easier to understand what a story structure is by watching a whole ton of movies. Watching movie reviews, those are good too. Reading books. You don't have to go buy a book teaching you how to write an outline. Unless you want to actually plot out the plot and the subplots and all that, and you want to be a plotter, then you might go look at those books, because I'm not a plotter, so I can't tell you anything about that. I can't tell you anything about that. I don't know why I said it in that way. So let's move on. Okay, learn strong character development techniques. There are effective ways to create a character arc in literature. Learn what character information to reveal to increase tension in your story. Your main character should have a backstory that informs their actions, motivations, and goals. Determine what point of view, POV, first person or third person, complements the character's interpretation of events. Okay. So I can't say much because I'm a pantser who does what just feels right. But as I'm reading this, I'm realizing it says your main character should have a backstory that informs their actions, motivations, and goals. Yes, you should know at least somewhat of your character's backstory. Somewhat. That's usually how I go into it. I just know somewhat of the character's backstory. So, if they have a best friend, how they met that best friend, and what the best friend's first impression of that character was. A little bit, just a little bit, I know a little bit about their backstory, or what their childhood was like, or what their childhood was like with their parents, on their own, with friends, just a little bit. You don't have to know, I don't think, what their favorite food was when they were 5 or something like that. You don't have to know that kind of thing, unless it's important, of course. Yeah, because when you think about yourself and you think about the things that you like today, a lot of it is influenced by the things that you figured out that you like, or memories that you've had when you were a kid, right? And if you are a kid and you listen to this, you are under the age of 13 or something like that, then you can still think about when you were really, really little, and maybe you ate a piece of chocolate and it was so good, and from that day on you like chocolate. So those sort of things, like that's your backstory, and it still influences you today, because today, every time you feel like eating something sweet, it's chocolate or something like that. And maybe there's, I don't know, magic chocolate factory somewhere that comes out in your story. Who knows? Anyway, yeah, strong character development techniques. I don't know if you need to know techniques. Maybe if you're a plotter. I mean, I really never bothered with any techniques. I don't read any books about how to write a story. Because if I have time to do that, I'd rather read books and write and get feedback and go that way, instead of spending money on all these tips and stuff like that. That's my opinion. You do you. You do you. But I felt that these books books on writing just influence me in a weird way, and then I get writer's block, so I don't really pay attention to those. We're moving on. Okay, hold up, because I need to explain to you what a planner and a pantser and a planter is. I've seen people use different words for these names. I've seen, instead of planner, I've seen plotter. Instead of pantser, I've seen gardener. I didn't look all of them up, but I've seen planner, pantser, and planter. So a planner is the one with the bullets, the sticky notes on the wall, and they may have a long world building journey. I once knew this writer who told me she'd been world building for 10 years, and then she wrote a entire 100K word novel in a couple months. There are people like that. And they're those people with all the sticky notes on the wall. Maybe you've seen them on YouTube or TikTok and stuff like that. Maybe Instagram. Okay, the next one is the pantser, and that is me. Pantsers write with the feels. They write with feels. They feel along the journey. They might have a beginning, middle, and end vaguely decided. I usually have decided what the beginning is, how the story is going to begin, what's basically going to happen in the middle, and then some vague idea of how I want the story to end. And basically the way I write is that I write towards the end. So I want this to happen at the very end. How can I get the characters there? That's kind of like how I write. Often, though, the characters do what they want, and then everything can change. And then I just adapt to that. And the story gets wild sometimes. And sometimes I write myself in a corner and I have to get myself out. But that's the life of a pantser. And I can't write in any other way. I just can't write in any other way. I tried, and I got writer's block. I can't. I have to pants. The last one is the planter, and these are very interesting people because they have a bit of both worlds. They might have bullet points, but they also write with the feels. They might have their world all figured out, but they also leave room to change things as the characters do what they want. I talked with a few planters on Discord and some other writing forum places, Instagram and stuff like that. And they have told me these sorts of things, planters. This is what they do. Some of them even have very detailed outlines, but if things change, it's fine. They adjust as they go. They adjust the outline as they write. And they fix the sticky notes as they write. The planner tends to stick with the sticky notes, like they're not going to change. They do a whole ton of planning, whole ton of outlining before writing the story. So basically the story is done, but in sticky note and bullet form. And all they need to do is just sort of fill in the little gaps. So that's a very big difference from a pantser that just freely does whatever the heck that we want to do. And we let the characters do whatever the heck they want to do, but we reel them in sometimes because we're in charge. And about being a pantser, as being a pantser, I find the fun thing is that you really can change things if you want. So usually the world building, I world build as I'm writing. So if I think, it might be interesting to have a portal system, and it's sort of like a station, and people have to line up to get in and that sort of thing. That kind of thing. Can I put it in? Yes, because I can do whatever I want. Also, but I have to remind myself I can do whatever I want in the boundaries of the world. So in the world of my book that I'm trying to do my self-publishing journey on doesn't have any dragons. So I can't suddenly say, look, up in the air, it's a bird, it's a plane, no, it's a dragon. I can't do that. I can't have any puffs of the magic dragons in my story appear out of nowhere. I have a story that has dragons, a different story that I wrote and I posted up on Wattpad called Jack of All Trades. And that story has dragons in it, so if I say, oh, look, there's a dragon, it's like, oh yeah, dragons, that they live here, it's normal. Anyway, so planner, pantser, and planter, which one are you? Which one are you? Which one do you think you are? Which one is closest to you? I think I've only heard about these three. I don't know if there are other different versions, but these are the three. Okay, we're moving on to number 9. I need a quick sip of coffee, if you don't mind. Yeah, coffee is really good. Coffee is really good. Are you guys drinking while you're listening to this? I hope you are. Number 9, use the active voice. Your goal as an author is to write a page-turner. A book that keeps readers engaged from start to finish. Yeah. Use the voice in your stories. Sentences should generally follow the basic structure of noun, verb, object. While a passive voice isn't always a bad thing, limit it in your fiction writing. That's interesting. That's interesting because, yes, passive voice is when you use, like the by. I can't think of any passive voice right now. Yes, I can't think of any passive voice right now. I'm pretty sure you know what passive voice is. Noun, verb, object. So, she pets cats. Yes, and the passive voice will be cats are pet by her. Yeah, you want to try to avoid a passive voice. It seems like it sounds awkward, and it also sounds like maybe the reader is feeling a little bit removed from the story if you use passive voice. I think that's why you try to avoid use passive voice. So, use active voice. I think, yeah, your goal as an author is to write a page turner. That's not your goal as an author, to write a page turner. Your goal as an author is to write a book that keeps readers engaged from start to finish. Not necessarily a page turner. Let me tell you, Perdido Street Station by China Miéville is not a page turner. It's actually, there were some parts of the story that were just exhausting to read because it was a lot of explaining. But that explaining needed to happen in order for the rest of the story to make sense. It did keep me engaged from start to finish somehow. Maybe there were some slow parts and some parts that were just like, oh, why do I have to read this? But I trusted the author knew what he was doing. And he knew what he was doing. This Perdido Street Station is a fascinating story about cause and effect. Like, whose fault is it? You don't know. It's an adult urban dystopian fantasy book. I talked a little bit about it in my last video where I talk about books that I would never read, in contrast to this book that I did read. So, might want to check it out because I do talk about it a little bit. Yeah. I wouldn't consider that book a page turner, but it did keep me engaged. You don't have to write a page turner. Page turner books are really I don't really know how they do that. I read Inferno by Dan Brown, and that was, I'm nodding my head, a very, very good page turner. Oh my gosh, I couldn't stop. Another book is the Stormkeeper's Island by Catherine Doyle, and it's the first book in a trilogy. That was a page turner. And what else was a page turner? There have been other books that were real good page turners. Oh yeah, The Host by Stephanie Meyer. I don't care what some people might think about Stephanie Meyer, because I really liked The Host. The book was such a page turner. I was like feeling tired, but I just wanted to keep reading and reading and reading, and I just couldn't stop. It was a really good page turner. But I've read some good books that aren't page turners, but they did keep me engaged. So your goal with author is not to write a page turner. Masterclass, please don't say that. Moving on, we have a lot more to go to. Okay, number 10, take breaks when you need them. Writer's block gets the best of every writer. Step away from your desk and get some exercise. Getting your blood flowing and being in a different environment can ignite ideas. Continue writing later that day or even the next. So, I did say that it contradicts with tip number 5, write every day, but it does say the last sentence there, continue writing later that day. So, even if you're writing every day, you're not writing every day at the same hour is probably what they were trying to say before. This doesn't really apply just to writers, so it's just general good advice for human beings. Take breaks when you need them. A funny thing for me is, I don't know what it's like for some of you, but writing is a break for me. It's also a struggle, but it's also a break. So to take a break from writing, I write. Isn't that silly? To take a break from writing, I write. Do you do that? I wonder if, like, people who do gaming, like those professional gamers, they started out as doing gaming as a hobby, right? As something that they do when they take a break. But once it becomes their job, do they still play games as a break, even though they play games as a job? I wonder. It reminds me of, I watched this YouTuber called Karen Puzzles, and she was saying that you don't put together jigsaw puzzles. What do you do with jigsaw puzzles? Solve jigsaw puzzles on camera, right, for the viewers. But she also said that sometimes she just sits down on her couch and does a jigsaw puzzle for fun. So she's taking a break from doing jigsaw puzzles by doing jigsaw puzzles. I mean, if it's something you like that you made it your hobby, then that's like, I guess people do that. Do you do that? If you're a writer and you write to one day publish a book, do you also write for fun? Do you take breaks by writing? Let me know. Comment down below. Okay, number 11. This is the famous phrase thing. Kill your darlings. An important piece of advice for writers is to know when words, paragraphs, chapters, or even characters are unnecessary to the story. Being a good writer means having the ability to edit out excess information. If the material you cut is still a great piece of writing, see if you can build a short story around it. Or whatever you want around it, actually. And I put this nice little glowy skull situation disappearing and fading because it's about killing your darlings, Get it? Yeah. So, yeah, killing your darlings. Yeah, I've heard things like people misinterpret what exactly kill your darlings actually means. It's not about killing off your characters. It's about getting rid of unnecessary information. I have a Word document in which I paste all my deleted scenes, like they do in movies. Like you go to their bonus feature and you see the deleted scenes. Sometimes I watch the deleted scenes and think, oh yeah, it was good that they took that out. And, oh yeah, it makes sense that they took that out. That was really, they didn't need to have that scene in there. And which is interesting. Because then after you watch the movie and then you watch the bonus content, it's like, oh yeah, it makes sense that they took that out. And you realize they would have been repeating themselves or had some unnecessary, the characters doing unnecessary things for no good reason, or it just makes it all confusing, convoluted. And you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, I do have a deleted scenes file. I have that. I keep it because sometimes I don't. Sometimes I just delete it. Sometimes I just kill my darlings. Sometimes I just get rid of the words or the paragraphs or the chapters or even the characters, and I don't actually save anything. But if there's a specific scene that I like or a specific character that I want to use for something else, then I put it in my deleted scenes file. So you can do that. You can have a deleted scenes file where you put all the stuff that you actually do want to keep. Just because you deleted it doesn't mean it has to cease to exist. You can put it elsewhere, right? And at the end of this paragraph here, it says you can build a short story around it. You can build a short story around it, or you can build an entire different novel around it if you wanted to. So I have this character who is a hybrid between a human and a bipedal polar bear. Yeah. And her name is Quinn. And I really like the name Quinn, but in the story I was writing at the time, she didn't really fit into the rest of the story. Like, she didn't add anything. The main character interacting with her wasn't doing anything, so I just got rid of her from the story. And I used her in a different story, still as a human polar bear hybrid creature, still with the name Quinn. And she had more of an important role. She had more of an interaction with the main character over in that story. And it made more sense. And I was able to keep her, and I was able to keep the name Quinn, and have the name Quinn in my story. So you don't have to get rid of your characters forever if you like them. Next, we're moving on. Oop. We have moved on too far into the future too fast. Okay, number 12. Read other writers. Reading great writing can help you find your own voice and hone your writing skills. Didn't I just say that before? Read a variety of genres. It also helps to read the same genre as your novel. If you're writing a thriller, then read other thrillers that show how to build tension, create plot points, and how to do the big reveal at the end, at the climax of the story. No, actually, in the last writing advice dissecting video, they also talked about read in your genre. I don't know. I can't remember if they talked about it like this. They didn't talk. Did they say if about reading a variety of genres, but to focus on the same genre that you're writing in? I write fantasy. I don't actually read a lot of fantasy. I do read a lot of middle grade fantasy recently, but I don't actually read a lot of fantasy, young adult fantasy, because a lot of young adult fantasy is just all about royalty and fae, and I just can't do that. It's just too much. I just don't like that. Tropes and stuff. You can watch my video about books that I will never read to find out why. But I don't Yeah, I don't like recent YA fantasy so very much. Middle grade fantasy is doing so much better. You're missing out if you're not reading middle grade fantasy. There are some great books out there. I read a lot of other fiction, especially ones centered around historical time periods. Ones with like profound messages and stuff like that. And those definitely help me to write better character relationships and stuff like that, and have those sort of profound moments in there. I did used to read a lot of fantasy. You really, for the reading, you just read what you're interested in. And if you're a writer but you're not much of a reader, I think that's fine. But read other writers is a good tip, though, because, like, if you go to somewhere like Wattpad, and I know Wattpad has a reputation of being filled with fan fiction, like, oh, I've seen a whole ton of K-pop fan fiction, I've seen, One Direction fan fiction, that's another really popular one. Just those two, really. I haven't seen a lot of others, actually. Harry Potter fan fiction. Some anime things that I don't really understand. So, yeah. And, but on Wattpad, there's a lot of other different types of writing. There's a lot of, other books. There's my books. You can find my books if you wanted to. I think I have a link on my channel that goes to my Wattpad profile or something. I think I do. I'm not sure. Might not. Yeah, you can read what other writers have written, and you can see either how you do enjoy them or how you think they are bad. And once you think they are bad, you can learn, like, oh, okay, this part made me feel confused. Am I doing this thing? And then you can go to your own writing, and you might notice that you're doing the same thing as the thing that the other person was doing that you thought was kind of confusing. So you can learn from others' mistakes, in a sense. You can also learn from some good writers. On Wattpad, you might be surprised, but there's some good writers over there. And you can learn how to do things like, I was in this little book club, and the person's book that I was reading, they're really good at doing action, so I kind of learned a little bit of action scenes from them. Yeah, so yeah, you have to read the same genre as your novel, I don't think. And you shouldn't focus on the same genre. You should read all kinds of books to get all kinds of perspectives and learn all kinds of things, and then put them all into your writing and have a great time. Moving on. Okay, there is a shrugging guy with a perplexed face, and there's another shrugging guy with a perplexed face, and they're all mirroring each other. One is bigger than the other. Okay. Number 13, right to sell. Okay, this is only for people who want to sell their book. You can write a story and not want to publish. That's fine. That's fine. You can just have it for yourself or your friends or something. Reading this, to make a living doing what they love, fiction writers need to think like editors and publishers. In other words, approach your story with a marketing sensibility as well as a creative one to sell your book. Well, for me, you making a living doing what they love, I would love to make a living for writing, but it's hard, to get up there. I'm not the way to get into the golden gates of publishing is really, really narrow. So, I'm not going to turn into who are the big ones? Turn into a Holly Black or a Leigh Bardugo, you know, there's a chance, but it's a very low chance. You have to have all these, you have to be given a chance and all that. You might have to be backed by a publisher. If you're going to self-publish, that's a whole other story. So, I don't think like editors and publishers. I think like editors when I'm editing, which is what I'm doing right now. I'm not approaching my story with a marketing sensibility. I'm approaching my story as that it's something that I will like to read to. And I just want it out there. I just want people to see my story. That's all. Yeah. So I'm not really writing to sell. The goal isn't the money. Unless I'm, that's all I'm going to be doing, which is great if I could just be doing that, but it's not really feasible. I don't think. Realistically speaking, that is. You never know what will happen, of course. You never know if you're going to be picked up by some big publisher after you self-publish. Who knows what will happen? But all I do is that I aim to, write a story that people will enjoy, and I enjoyed creating it, and just hope that it does well, So to make a living doing what they love, not necessarily like I'm aiming to do that. Maybe you might be, and that's fine if you need to do it in that way, but don't lose sight of the first tip of masterclass, which is love your story. Like if you're just writing tropes and cliches that will sell versus writing a book that you actually enjoy writing, which do you want? You probably want to write the book that you enjoy writing, not write the book that's filled with like selling points, right? Next, number 14, write now, edit later. That sounds like I'm saying write as the one that starts with the R. Okay, let's read. Young writers and aspiring writers might be tempted to spend a lot of time editing and rewriting as they type. Resist that temptation. Practice rewriting, a creative writing technique that encourages writers to let their ideas flow uninterrupted. Set a specific time to edit. Right, I would say, yes. I would say, especially if you're drafting the first draft, write it and then edit. Don't edit while you're writing. You're just going to be stuck in a loop, going back and going back and going back to that first chapter, and you're going to feel like the story is never going to be done ever. So just write, even if you have thousands of plot holes, even if half of the stuff isn't connected, it's fine. You're going to go back and edit. That's the beauty of editing. You can go back to do it, and you will do that later. First, just word vomit those words, those stories, just shove those stories out there. Yes, and do the thing, and you will be fine. And you just go back and edit. It's okay if your story stucks. Stucks? That's not a word. It's okay if your story sucks in the beginning, because then you go back and you will edit, and you will be fine. Okay? Yeah, when they say free writing, that's kind of what I do. I do pantsing, so it's a free writing, and I just go. I just do the thing. I don't look back. I don't look back at all. The only time I look back is when I have another writing session and I sit down for like the second time or something like that. I might read the last few sentences to refresh my memory. And if it's been a while, I might read the last couple paragraphs. But I don't go to the beginning to reread it because I know I'm going to start editing it. I just want to get this story out. That's all I want to do. But it's not for everyone, that type of style. If you do want to go back and forth editing, you can try doing that. But I would really suggest that you do just get the story out. Just get it out. Worry about the details for later. I need a drink of water here, guys. I need a drink of water. I can hear bugs outside my window. They are doing their singing. Actually, they're not singing. How do the crickets, they rub their legs together and then that's where the sound comes from. And I think the other bugs, I know that they rub their wings together and the sound comes out. Isn't that weird? Imagine if humans could we would rub our hands together. Instead of clapping, that's how we would clap. A sound would come out. A pretty little whistling sound would come out of our hands. That would be so weird, wouldn't it? I mean, think about it. They rub their legs together. Crickets rub their legs together. Have you ever watched the movie James and the Giant Peach? And there's this cricket guy, and he there's a scene where it's nighttime, and he's rubbing his ankles area together, and that's where the sound is coming out. I know he's an actual, supposed to be an actual grasshopper who's gotten big and could learn how to talk. But that scene has always been kind of weird for me. I know he's an actual cricket, but that was just kind of weird and creepy. I wouldn't say wow to it. Anyway, number 15, get feedback. It can be hard to critique your own writing. When you have finished a piece of writing or a first draft, give it to someone to read. Ask for honest and specific feedback. This is a good way to learn what works and what doesn't. Good for you if you have someone in real life to do that. I don't. If you don't have someone in real life, what do you do? You might join a free writing website. I'm talking like Elmer Fudd here. A free writing. Why is it so hard to say free writing? Writing website. Free writing website. Say it 3 times fast. I dare you. Free writing website made by writers for writers. I'm on a free writing website. I'm having such a hard time speaking right now. I need to slow down. The free writing website made by writers for writers, and it's called Wacky Writers. That's a lot of W's in there. I know. It's called Wacky Writers, and this little wyvern character is named Wisp. Also starts with a W. Can you believe that? You can go to this Wacky Writers website and you can sign up and you can interact with other writers and ask them for feedback and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure everyone is very willing to help you. Everyone is all so helpful over there. I'm on there a lot of the time. You can come and say hi. So yeah, it is good to get feedback. That is a good writing tip, to get feedback. The last writing article for advice for writers did not say anything about getting feedback. It is good to get feedback. If you can get feedback somehow, it's good if you can get it. Figure out some way to get it. There are also Facebook groups for writers based on genre, or you can find ones that are for fiction writers. I'm in one that's for fiction writers and 2 for fantasy writers, and sometimes you might post a little paragraph and say, hey guys, what do you think of this? Can you give me some feedback? And some people, yeah, they give pretty good feedback. Let me tell you, and if you want someone to rip your piece apart and tell you what's wrong with it and how to do better, they can do that too. So there are ways which you can get feedback on your writing. Sometimes you can have like a trade with somebody, and so you can say, I will read the first chapter of your book, You read the first chapter of my book. Let's exchange feedback. And I'm pretty sure people on Facebook will be willing to do that. People on Wacky Writers will be willing to do that. And you can find those sorts of people also on Instagram. Everyone is looking for somebody to look at their story and give feedback. It's good to get as much feedback as possible. And one thing I want to say here is that, well, now you have that feedback, now you have this critique, you're going to fix it right away. If you're going to fix it right away or not. If it's a big thing, and you agree with it, yes. But if it's something that you're not sure if you agree with or not, I would say if you get 3 people saying the same thing, maybe you should consider. But until then, I don't think you have to consider it. You sort of take people's feedback and critique with a grain of salt, and you have to make a judgment. If a whole bunch of people are saying the same thing, obviously, you might need to consider changing the thing. But if it's just one person and no one else is saying anything about that section, maybe it's just that one person. And it's fine. You say, what you always say is thank you for your feedback. But that's all you say. You don't say thank you for your feedback, but I don't think it's useful and I'm going to ignore it. You don't say that. These people took the time to critique your writing. So you also always have to say thank you. I'm being so hard and passionate about this because there was a time when I was critiquing people's first chapters on Wattpad, and sometimes they would be so defensive about their writing, and I'm like, I'm just trying to help. All I want to hear, like, it's fine if you don't like my advice, that's fine, but just thank me for spending time trying to help you. That's all I want. You can choose not to take it. It's fine. I'm not saying that you have to take this writing advice. I'm not saying like I'm the lordess of writing advice and you have to take all my feedback and critiques to heart and you have to change everything right away right now. I'm not saying that at all. So, just say thank you to the people who are helping you. That's all you need to do. You just say thank you. Even if you don't agree, say thank you and move on. Don't even comment anything else. Just say thank you. Just say thank you for your advice. You don't have to take every single piece of advice. Seriously. But hey, join me at Wacky Writers. Come on to the Wacky Writers Writing Forum. I'd love to see you there. It would be great to have you. Unless you're already on there, then hi, you know who I am. Alright, there are a bunch of these shrugging guys with perplexed faces. On the last writing tip, think about publishing. Alright, so I'm not even going to read through this, but this is only for people who want to publish. It says few authors write just for themselves. Well, obviously, they haven't looked at every single person in the entire world. Maybe there are some people who are just, I've seen that there are some people on Facebook writing groups that are writing maybe a memoir for their family, about their family. But it's only going to be for their family. No one else is going to see this memoir. That is fine. And if you just want to write a story for yourself, just because you wanted to write it, that's what I'm posting on Wattpad, basically. I mean, I wanted to write a story about this narcissistic, charming art gallery dealer living in my attempt at a steampunk world, who has a curse that when he touches somebody's left side with his hand, he can hear their most immediate thoughts about whatever. I just wanted to write a story about how this guy navigates his life and tries to get rid of his curse and also, in the process, tries to save dragons. I just wanted to write a story like that. Am I ever going to publish that? I don't know, probably not. It's on Wattpad. That's not considered publishing. I mean, do I want to publish this and sell it to people and hope that they read it? No. It's fine. If it's just for Wattpad, it's fine. I'm fine with that. There are some stories that aren't on Wattpad that I finished writing, but either I haven't had time to publish it on Wattpad or I just don't feel like doing it right away. and I just feel satisfied having written them. Basically, I just wrote for myself. That's fine. That's fine. I mean, you don't have to if you don't want to publish. No one's forcing you. For me personally, I have specific stories that I want to see published. I want more people to enjoy them, to be immersed in this world, and have as much fun as I have been having writing this world. So I'm considering self-publishing. You don't have to if you don't want to. And you can also can if you want to. And if you are serious about publishing, you'd probably look into how to publish. If you're going the traditional route, you would probably go to literary agents. You'd probably query to literary agents. If you're self-publishing, you better get on it. Seriously. Self-publishing is, you have to find your cover artist. You have to figure out if you're going to pay someone to do formatting or if you're going to do it yourself. There's all kinds of things to consider for self-publishing. I'm not an expert. I'm just kind of rolling into this for the first time too, but I did a lot of research on it. So, you should too. Yes. Okay. So, 16 writing tips for fiction writers. We have come to the very end. Wow. So, that's the end. Were those good writing tips? Think about publishing, get feedback. I mean, they're solid. Yeah, there were some that were kind of, not sure about that, but this is Masterclass, and I had slightly higher hopes for this one. A little bit disappointed, but I think it's not too bad, although like some stuff only applies to some people, like writing every day, and some of this long form novels, like stuff like that, or having milestones, that's like word count. Are these writing tips for fiction writers? Yeah, I think that's it's like a little bit of something for everyone, isn't it? Like if you want to be very rigorous planner, then they have a tip for that. If you want to do some free writing, they have a tip for that. And if you feel like you want to go to the publishing route, they tell you a few tips on what to do for that. So, yeah, there's something for everyone, which is good in a sense, but I think in those parts where it seems like it's for certain types of writers, like a planner or a pantser or a novice or an expert, that they should make it clear that it's for those types of people. They shouldn't just sound like they're talking to everyone, because I'm pretty sure when I was a novice, I'm pretty sure I would be like, oh, I have to write every day. Ooh, I don't know if I can do that. So does that mean I'm not a good writer if I don't write every day? To talk about an extreme. But anyway, I suppose that is the end of this video. Going back a tiny bit. Yeah. There's something, isn't there? Read other writers, write to sell, edit later, get feedback, join wacky writers. Come on now. Think about publishing. Love your story. Yada, yada, yada. So yeah, there's something for everyone, and I'm repeating myself. So what are your thoughts? Did Masterclass live up to its title of the article? I think Masterclass did a pretty good thing, but they should focus on giving advice to novices versus experts, planners versus pantsers, and not have like some kind of general thing. I think it's fine if between those articles for novices or experts that they have some overlap in advice. It's not like every single piece of advice has to be completely different across like novice expert. Like, you might tell a novice to write a story that they love. You might also tell an expert to write a story that they love or that they're passionate about. And, it's fine that advice overlaps because it's not like everyone has like a special particular way that the advice has to be given to them or that particular type of advice that you might give a novice or expert. There might be things like that, but there can be overlap is what I'm trying to say here, basically. All right. So, that is the end of the video. Thank you for listening. I bet it's over an hour again, huh? I say down here in this little bitty text because I'm pretty sure it is. I don't even know what time it is. I probably have to go and make dinner now because it's nighttime that I'm recording this. So yeah, let me know what you thought in the comments down below. I'm gonna start saying comments instead of comments and see if anyone catches on. Leave your thoughts in the comments. We are going to space. Outer space.